welcome back to the Kiwi Wedding Podcast. My name is Lydia. I'm an Auckland wedding photographer at Lydia Rachel Photography and your host. This week, I'm joined by Katie, who shares the story of her timeless Italian-inspired Waiheke wedding at Poderi Crisci, her mountaintop proposal in Queenstown, navigating a complete venue change after their original Hawke's Bay venue cancelled due to a fire just weeks before they moved overseas. We chat about planning a New Zealand wedding from London, creating a wedding that felt timeless and elegant rather than trend-driven, and why they chose a long lunch celebration focused on incredible food, wine, and guest experience. It's such a beautiful episode filled with thoughtful advice, elegant details, and reminders not to sweat the small stuff. I also wanted to remind you guys that you can sign up to the Love Letter newsletter, a fortnightly note from me, perfect if you're in the wedding planning phase. You can find it linked in the show notes. Okay, let's get into it. Enjoy episode 144 with Katie. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Excited to hear all about your beautiful Waiheke wedding and the planning process.
Yeah, of course. Hi, Lydia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to discuss our day and relive and reflect such a pivotal time in our lives. It's been 2 years now since we got married, so it'll be really nice to have a chat about it.
So we'll kind of go back and start at the beginning. Can you tell us a bit of the story of how you guys met, what you guys kind of do with your lives and your life together?
Ashton and I have been together for 14 years now. We met down in Otago uni, so we were both in Cumberland College together. He was on the same floor as one of my good friends, and we got chatting at one of the first Cumby hops. So I was actually dressed as a cat and he was dressed as an astronaut, and we got chatting and the rest is history, really. I had a lot of fun down in Dunedin. We were both down there for 4 years and then came up to Auckland for a few years, and then we both actually moved over to London, where we were living for 2.5 years, and we travelled to over 30 countries together. We both have a huge love for travel and the outdoors, and we're also very social people, so we love seeing our friends and family and heading out for a few wines. But we recently also just welcomed our beautiful baby girl Flo on Christmas Eve of last year, who we're absolutely besotted with. But yeah.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, such a beautiful love story. I feel like that's a movie scene, meeting in your costumes at the party as well. So good. Yeah, love that. I did a few years in London as well. So yeah, such a cool experience, and doing all the travel you have as well. So you were together quite a while and then got engaged. Can you tell us a bit about the proposal story?
Yeah, of course. So we would have been together for, it must have been about 9 years when we got engaged, and we had New Year's planned with some friends down in Wanaka, and then we were heading to Queenstown after that. I usually plan all of the itineraries for our trips and do all the research and sort everything out. And he did say to me, make sure you leave a day free in Queenstown. So a part of me got a little bit of an inkling, because I was thinking that's quite unusual for you to plan a whole day and for me to leave that free. So definitely had a bit of an inkling. I tried to get it out of him what we were doing, but he wouldn't budge, which was really nice. So the whole day was a surprise. In the morning, we drove to a helicopter pad, and we ended up going up in a helicopter and heading over the beautiful mountains in Queenstown, and we ended up landing on Vanguard Peak. But on the way over, I'm actually quite a nervous flyer, so I was quite nervous, and Ashton absolutely is not a nervous flyer whatsoever, but he was very nervous in this particular helicopter ride. So I could tell something was up. But we landed on Vanguard Peak, which is such a beautiful spot, and we went for a wee walk, and then he said, like some really lovely words, and we just reflected on the previous 9 years we'd spent together. And then he proposed, which was so special. We were both in tears and we were just both so happy. It was such a lovely moment. And then we couldn't wait to get back and tell all of our friends and family. So of course rung our family straight away, and he'd asked my dad, which is something that I was always hoping that he would do. Like I always said, make sure if you are to ever propose that you talk to my dad first. Very traditional, I know. But yeah, that was really sweet. Talked to all our family and friends, and then he had actually planned a winery tour around Queenstown for the afternoon to celebrate just the two of us, which was so special. So yeah, it was really nice.
Sounds like a perfect day, epic mountaintop to do it on, and yeah, so special. Had you been one of those girls that was dreaming about your wedding? Did you kind of have a vision in mind of what you wanted? And yeah, can you tell us a bit about the first steps, finding a venue, all of that?
I think my wedding was something that I'd always dreamed of and had a bit of a vision. I think Instagram really helps as well in terms of different themes and vibes of things. So before we even got engaged, I had a fair idea of a few venues that I liked, but also the style that I was going for. I really wanted something timeless and elegant, and something that I'd look back on in 20 years time and still absolutely love. In terms of my fashion sense as well, I'm very minimalistic, classic. So I really thought about that when I was choosing a venue, and also for our wedding outfits as well. In terms of venues, I'm from Hawke's Bay, Ashton's from Wellington. So originally we'd actually planned on getting married in Hawke's Bay. So when we got engaged, we would have had a few months before we headed over to the UK, and I wanted to have the majority of things locked in before we left, because we were gone for a year and a half before we came back for our wedding. So we had actually booked in Black Barn in Hawke's Bay. I'm not sure if you've been there, but it's a stunning venue. We would have had the reception under the vines. They have a beautiful outdoor area under the vines at their restaurant. But it was around the time that they had the fire. We ended up booking everything in. We'd booked the venue, I'd booked stylist, hair, makeup, band, photographer, had everything booked in and planned. And then unfortunately, because of the fire, they decided to cancel all bookings moving forward, which is absolutely understandable, but it definitely brought some stress, because this would have been 2 or 3 weeks before we were moving over to the UK. So we had to find another venue. And another one that was very top of mind that we actually hadn't been to before was Poderi Crisci. So my best friend absolutely raved about it. It was her favourite place over in Waiheke. And Grace, who you've actually had on the podcast before as well, she raved about it a lot. And I thought it just looked like such a beautiful Italian vibe, off the beaten track. It just looked absolutely amazing, and I had only heard great things. So my mum, husband and I all booked to head over and meet with Karen, who was working there at the time, to see the venue and have a look around. When we got there, as you mentioned, you've been there before. It's on the other side of the island, and you very much go down a dirt type road. It's very much off the beaten track, but when you do see it, it opens up to the most beautiful spot. Antonio's just done an incredible job. The gardens are absolutely stunning. It's like your own slice of Italy, really. It's beautiful. And when we were on our way over as well, our taxi driver had been living on the island for 30 years, and he said to us by far that the food at Poderi Crisci was the best on the island. So as well, that was also another thing that helped make the decision, because the food was a really big element for us that we wanted to get right. But yeah, so we had a look around, and then it was a very quick yes in terms of locking that in. It was just, yeah, absolutely beautiful. A really relaxed vibe, and I feel like the scenery just speaks for itself.
Yeah, such a stunning spot. It really does feel like you're in Italy when you're there, and I feel like that kind of tracks for your story and your love of travel and everything as well. And yeah, I love what you said before as well about thinking about your personal style and like fashion sense and things when it came to the styling and everything, which sounds so obvious in a way, but I don't think people necessarily think of that, or they kind of get caught up in all the trends and Pinterest and everything. But it's like what is actually what we like and represents us. And yeah, so
Yes.
love that point as well. Mentioned a few things in there, but what were your sort of top priorities, the most important elements of the day for you?
Yeah, so from the very beginning, Ashton and I, when we sat down and discussed our wedding, the main priority for us was the guest experience. We just wanted our guests to have the most amazing time. So, with that, food was a really high priority for us. So was alcohol and also a live band. I'd been to quite a few weddings before where we'd both seen a band and a DJ, and DJs are still absolutely amazing, but we both just thought that bands just bring a certain vibe. They get everyone up on the dance floor. There's really a different song for all generations. That was a high priority for us. So it was definitely the guest experience. And I feel like we did really well with that because we loved the food and our band was amazing and brought such a cool vibe to the day.
I was going to say as well, with that kind of pivot, and yeah, luckily you found a equally amazing venue. But were you able to use a lot of those vendors you'd already booked in the Hawke's Bay, or did you have to kind of switch a few of them for Waiheke? Yeah.
So I kept the photographer. So I kept Johnny Scott, who I had booked in Hawke's Bay as well. But in terms of hair and makeup, it would have just added to the expense. So I ended up changing that. I also ended up changing, I was working with Flock Events down there as well, who were absolutely amazing, but having it over in Waiheke, and they also provided on the day coordinator and help with that sort of thing. So it was just another expense that because it was quite far away, we unfortunately couldn't keep working with them. So we kept some and then had to change some.
Yeah, totally understandable. Yeah, interesting to hear how that all unfolded. But yeah, luckily, obviously came together in the end. Yeah, can you tell us a bit about your wedding outfits, your dress? What was that journey like? Shopping, finding it? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So the plan was to actually find a wedding dress over in London because I thought there would be loads more choice. And of course, throughout Europe as well, I'm sure they have lots of different designers. But my bridesmaids and my mum were really set on having a day in Auckland of me trying on dresses and just getting a vibe in terms of what kind of dress I would like. And it is such a fun day. We all had so much fun. We booked in to go to numerous Auckland designers. We went to Natalie Rose Bridal, Hera Couture, and Trish Peng on the Saturday, and then went out for a lovely lunch in between. And there were some dresses that I loved, but I did have it in the back of my mind that I wanted to find something overseas. And then on the Sunday, because I'd also tried to book in to see Megan at Kenny and Harlow, and on the Sunday, she had a cancellation. And before my mum headed back to Hawke's Bay, we thought we'd just whip in there and see her. And I tried a few of her dresses on in the showroom, and she was amazing. I loved working with her, and she'd seen pictures of what I had tried on the day before and got a vibe for my style and what I liked. And I was very much keen for, I'd say, old Hollywood glam. I wanted something chic, minimalistic, and she just completely got my whole vibe and drew something up that I absolutely loved. It was like a thick, beautiful silk dress, very classic and timeless. And when I saw it, because I had planned to get the dress over in London, once she'd mocked it up, me and mum just looked at each other and we were like, we've just got to do it. I loved it, and it was definitely that yes to the dress moment that people see. So yeah, I was really, really happy that I went with Megan. And in terms of bringing a little bit of an edge to my outfit as well, I had quite a long veil, which was short at the front, and I wanted to put some pearls on it. She had a couple of veils with pearls, but again, I wanted that minimalistic style. I only wanted a few pearls, so she actually hand sewed a few pearls to the front of my veil, which was a really nice addition and brought an edge to my outfit as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed working with her. It was a really nice experience.
Oh, so stunning. She's so good at what she does. And yeah, your dress looked absolutely beautiful. Did you end up going shopping just for fun in London or overseas at all? Or that was just like the one all set?
No, I didn't in the end. I feel like we are so spoilt for choice here in New Zealand, and in terms of wedding outfits, and even just in terms of general clothes. We have a lot of amazing designers over here, and yeah, we're just very lucky here in NZ, that's for sure. But I actually ended up getting my second wedding dress designed in Turkey. So I had a fun short dress, which was high neck, very much went for like a glitzy vibe as opposed to the minimalistic vibe of my first dress. So it was short with sequins and just a bit of fun. So my husband and I spent 2 weeks in Turkey, and when we were in Istanbul, because they're known for being good designers and in the fashion area, I met with a designer that I'd found, and we designed something together, which was a lot of fun, and it's quite cool to change into something else as well.
Oh, so good. Such a fun experience. And yeah, definitely cool to have like another moment for dancing and like later in the night. Did you have a bridal party as well? And yeah, how was that process choosing them? Did you find that easy?
Yeah, so we did have a bridal party. I had 4 bridesmaids and Ashton had 4 groomsmen. It can be a difficult decision, but we landed on a really special group who were so much fun and brought a real vibe to the day. I also had my sister as our celebrant, which was so special. She's actually a celebrant down in Hawke's Bay, but she made the ceremony really personal to us. She intertwined a speech into it, and I truly believe that's why our ceremony was one of our favourite parts of the day. Being able to say that your sister married you, I think, is just so special. So that was really nice. And she also got ready with us the morning of in terms of hair and makeup, so she may as well also have been part of the bridal party. But no, I had a really good group of girls. I had my bestie from my childhood, and then a couple of besties from uni, and a bestie who I met at my first job. Yeah, so much fun.
Quite nice to have people from like different seasons of your life. And then yeah, so special having a sister or yeah, somebody in your family doing the ceremony as well, because it is a really like personal part of the day. How about the guest list? Did you find that quite tricky to narrow down?
Yes, we did actually find the guest list really difficult to narrow down. From the get-go, when we decided on Poderi, we decided that we would have 85 guests, and I suppose that tied into budget as well. That kind of set the scene to make sure that we didn't overblow the budget. Yeah, we both sat down and wrote a big list of those who were close to us. I heard I suppose, rule that someone had given advice on, and they said, think of 3 things: past, present, and future. And if someone fits into 2 of those things, then invite them. But even with that in mind, there was people that did fit into 2 of those things that I would have loved to invite, but because we really stuck to the 85 from a budget perspective, yeah, there was no movement on that really. But we did have a lot of close friends that were over in London who unfortunately couldn't make it. I feel like at that part of our lives, because we were late 20s, people really are dispersed everywhere around the world. We were grateful enough to have a few come over from London and Amsterdam and Australia, but there were some that, of course, couldn't come over for it. But yeah, that is something that I feel like is quite hard, having to narrow down guests for sure.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely one of the hardest parts for most people. And yeah, such a Kiwi thing. I feel like we love going and exploring the world and traveling and moving overseas. So yeah, bringing everyone together is tricky, but yeah, cool that you had a few come over. Yeah, can you tell us a bit about the big day, maybe some of the lead up to it, and yeah, how everything went? Any highlights, favorite moments? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So we headed over to Waiheke. We actually chose Waitangi weekend because we really wanted people to make a wee holiday out of it if they could, if they were able to take a day off work. And so we headed over on the Friday to Waiheke, and we had a house booked for the girls and a house booked for the boys. And we had the rehearsal later that day, which was a lot of fun because a lot of our bridal party hadn't been to Poderi before. And then that night we had a very chill girls' night, just stayed up late chatting. It was a really nice vibe, and the boys, I think, had a few drinks as well, but in the end they ended up having a relatively early night. But on the morning of, I spoke to Ashton and was asking what they were up to. I think for him, boys have it so lucky in terms of getting ready. It's so easy, just have a shower, whip their suit on, and they're ready to go. So he said it was very chill vibes. They just had a few whiskeys and they had a beautiful view where we had booked for the boys. So they just sat out on the deck, which was really nice, and had a few chats. And for the girls, it started early in the morning with first person up for makeup, I think about 8 or 8:30. But it was a lot of fun. We had platters, bubbles, music going, and our hair and makeup, we had Kate Soley and boutique bride Amelia, and they were both absolutely amazing. They truly are the best. They bring such an amazing vibe to the day. So yeah, it was a lot of fun when we were getting ready and just very much chill vibes. Because we were with Poderi Crisci, it was a long lunch as opposed to a dinner. So the day started a lot earlier. The guests arrived at 1:15 for a 2 p.m. start with me walking down the aisle. So got there at 2 p.m, all the guests were there. And prior to that, weather-wise, we had had a few showers that morning, on and off, which was absolutely fine. I truly believe when you get to your wedding day, nothing can shake you. It could have been a full thunderstorm, multiple things could have gotten wrong, and nothing shakes you. You're just so excited to get married because it's been such a big lead up to that day. With the few showers in the morning, I honestly wasn't even worried, didn't think anything of it. But in the end, we were so lucky with the weather, which I know is just something that you can't control at all. When I walked down the aisle, there was a very slight drizzle during the ceremony, and during that and then after, it just turned out the most beautiful day, which we're super grateful for. But the ceremony, as I mentioned, was so much fun because my sister married us and she incorporated a speech into the ceremony as well. And both Ashton and I's favorite part of the day was definitely our vows. It was so beautiful. We both did personalized vows, and it just made it really, really special. So that was so nice. Ashton also one of the non-negotiables because he really let me decide on quite a lot of things when it came to the planning side. And of course, I'd run things by him, but he really left the ball in my court for a lot of the decisions on the day. One thing that he was really keen for was to see me for the first time walking down the aisle, because I was quite keen to potentially get all the pictures done beforehand so that we could spend more time with our guests. But I thought that it was really special that he was quite set on that and wanted that first moment with me walking down the aisle. So that was really nice. I had my dad walk me down the aisle, and then after the ceremony, everyone got up and cheered, and it was just so special. We walked down and then did a champagne tower, which was fun, and then we ended up getting our photos done after that. So we went into photos of the two of us, then we did our bridal party photos and family photos, and by the time we had gotten through those, we were ready for the reception. Because it was a long lunch, it did start earlier. So the reception, I think off the top of my head, we may have been in there around 3:30ish, but the long lunch was amazing. The food was incredible. We had, I think it was 4 different courses and then the cake as well, but that worked really well because we ended up having 7 speeches, which I know sounds like a lot, but we definitely stand by those 7 speeches. They were so, so, so special, and we couldn't really narrow that down. Everyone who spoke, we were really set on having them speak, and they all added a different element to the day, which was really lovely. But the way that we did it, which I would highly recommend to any other brides, because we had numerous courses, we had the speeches split up. So we only ever had two two speeches at once, and then would break it up with a course so that people could eat and chat and have a break in between. So I feel like that really made a difference to the day as well. So that's something that I would definitely recommend. And then we had our first dance, which was fun. We both are not dancers at all. I feel like, if anything, we're both a bit uncoordinated. So we ended up getting some dancing lessons when we were over in London, which was a lot of fun. Did our first dance, and then we cut the cake. And one piece of advice that I'd also heard was around being able to take a moment, just the two of you, at some part of the day, just to soak in every second and kind of reflect on the day so far. So I thought it would be a really nice way to do that with a sunset shoot. So Johnny took us out to the beach in Otago for our sunset shoot, which was so nice. It was a lot of fun. I think all up, it was only about 40 minutes, but I'm so glad we did it, because even when we were in the car, we looked at each other and we were so happy. And it's like, you honestly just don't want the day to end, and it goes so quickly, really, really fast. So that was a really nice way to soak it all in and have some time, just the two of us as well. And then as soon as we got back, we were straight to the dance floor. The band really brought some amazing vibes, and we were on the dance floor until 10. So the thing with Poderi Crisci as well is they have a very strict closing time of 10 p.m. because of the area on Waiheke due to noise. So that is something to bear in mind if you are booking the venue. But because everything starts earlier, you still have the same amount of time as you would with a regular wedding anyway, and it brings a nice edge having that long lunch day drinking vibe, which we absolutely loved. So yeah, it truly just was the best day of our lives. I say one of the best days because the first obviously was the birth of our beautiful daughter, but yeah, it's just so much fun. There's so much love, and it's just a beautiful way to celebrate your love for each other with all of your best friends and family around.
So special, so many good moments in there. Sounds like, yeah, such an epic day. And yeah, I think I was saying to you before, I don't think I've had anyone on that's been married there yet before. So really cool to hear that experience. Yeah, I know their food is incredible. So the long lunch is such a cool option. And yeah, interesting about the cutoff times. I know there's a few different venues like that, but then you just kind of move everything a little bit earlier and it works out perfectly. What did you find like the hardest part about wedding planning? And yeah, is there anything you look back on and regret or would have done a little bit differently?
I don't think I would have done anything differently. I am really happy about how everything went, but I think I would probably tell myself not to sweat the small stuff, because when you are planning, everything can feel so heightened if anything goes wrong or if there's anything you can't source. And as I mentioned, when you get to the day, nothing matters. You're just so excited to get married and celebrate your love. So one thing that comes to mind that I remember was quite stressful was flooring. So when you have over 65 guests at Poderi Crisci, which is another thing to keep in mind, if you book the venue, you have to book a marquee, which can also add to the cost as well. So because we had 85 guests, we booked a marquee, and then I had booked flooring as well. But then when I had spoken to the company that we had booked flooring with, they mentioned that the grass area was slightly uneven at Poderi, so there could be a risk of the flooring popping up just because of the way that it works. And that stressed me out a little bit. I think I just had it in my head that with elderly people being there, I didn't want them to trip or fall if we were on grass, and I just thought it would be easier to have flooring as a dance floor, but in hindsight, it honestly did not matter at all. I saw a very well-known New Zealand dress designer's wedding, and her dance floor was completely on grass. And I wish I had seen that at the time, because honestly, it does not matter at all. So we ended up getting the flooring, so we paid for it and had it there. And then at the rehearsal, Poderi was so lovely, and they tried their best to make it work in terms of leveling the grass out, and they'd set it up. But you could just tell that it was popping up, and I was worried that that could potentially be a tripping risk. And at the same time, I just thought no one's going to care if they're dancing on grass. Like, it's really not a big deal at all. So we chose not to have it in the end. But I think, Yeah, just in terms of the lead up when things can feel heightened, it honestly does not matter on the day at all.
Yeah, such good advice and perspective to have. Did you guys end up having like a on the day coordinator or anything like that?
Yes, we did. We worked with Madeline from the Island Collection, which was so helpful. I would highly, highly recommend having an on the day coordinator. They just look after all the vendors and make sure everything's set up. And no, she was super helpful. So I feel like if you can afford it, that's something that I would definitely do.
Did you guys have a set wedding budget, if you're happy to talk about what that was, or yeah, how you found that whole side of things?
So we didn't actually have a set wedding budget, and we haven't added up how much everything would cost. I don't think I would want to,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Stop counting at some point.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. But because we started planning a year and a half in advance, and we set the scene from the beginning by saying that we'd have 85 guests at Poderi, we really took it vendor by vendor. And another thing in terms of budget that helped us as well was, instead of leaving all of the invoices until the due date and having everything due at once, we started paying things off from when we started booking a year and a half advance. So it wasn't a huge cost all at once. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that to other brides if you have time on your side, to space that out if you can, so it's not one big cost all at one time.
Yeah, that's such a good way to do it, kind of spreading it out. I know some people like set up a different account and then have like payments going out every week, or yeah, there's just like lots of different approaches. But yeah, good if you're not paying so much all in the same week, and yeah, you have like a bit of that lead time, and yeah, you're obviously working and saving and everything.
In terms of budget, Ashton and I were also incredibly lucky to have a lot of support from both families. We honestly couldn't have done it without them, and we're forever grateful. My amazing mum was also very helpful when it came to organising things throughout the process.
Did you guys go on honeymoon straight away? Did you just hang around the island for a bit? What did planning that look like?
So we'd been in London for a year and a half, so we hadn't have seen any of our friends and family back home in New Zealand for a year and a half. So we'd planned to come back to New Zealand for 3 weeks, and it was a jam-packed 3 weeks. We ended up
quite fast.
yeah. We ended up getting married on the last weekend that we were here, but because we're both not from Auckland, we spent time in Auckland, Hawke's Bay, Wellington, back in Auckland, then we were over in Waiheke. And because we were over in London and traveling, our priority was to tick off as much travel as we could over there, so leave was a bit scarce. So we didn't want to take very much annual leave, so because of that we had a next day event after the wedding, which was a lot of fun. We all just met at Charlie Farley's, and that gave us an opportunity to talk to a lot of people that we hadn't have had the chance to have a chat to at the wedding, which was really nice. And after that, it must have been the next day. So we stayed an extra night, and then the next day we headed back to London. In hindsight, it would have been so lovely to do a little mini moon, whether it be 2 or 3 nights, but we just didn't have the time and didn't want to take the leave. But we ended up having our honeymoon in Euro summer that year. So we spent 2.5 weeks in Greece, which was really special. And it was so nice to have that to look forward to when we went back as well.
Oh, so good. Yeah, a bit of a whirlwind trip for sure, but you definitely want to make the most of that side of the world when you're living over there. And yeah, Greek honeymoons, absolute dream. So good.
Yes.
Did you have any sort of helpful resources during wedding planning in terms of helping you find vendors or inspiration, stuff like that?
I found Instagram extremely helpful. I feel like as soon as your algorithm clocks that you're looking at weddings, you have so many different things come up. So that was really, really helpful in terms of ideas. And of course, your podcast as well. I listened to so many of your podcasts, and I was able to really take something from each one. It was so good hearing other brides talk about the lead up to their wedding and their journey, and advice on planning and the type of things they'd been through in their advice. So that was super helpful as well.
Oh, so good. Amazing. When I get to have listeners on that have kind of like, yeah, listened and then like can come tell your story. Is there anything else you would say to a couple planning their wedding at the moment?
I would just say enjoy the process. It is just such an incredible day. It's so worth it and it goes so quickly. So make sure that you soak up every second. Another thing in terms of piece of advice as well was I forgot to mention earlier a random tip when I brought my bridesmaid dresses, be careful of the customs. It's something that I didn't think of. So when I brought my bridesmaid dresses from Australia, we got them from Shona Joy. I ordered them at once, and I think customs was almost $500. So just be really careful not to order them all at once if you can. I wish someone had told me that. So yeah, that's another small tip that I hope will help someone.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I wouldn't even think of that because you're just like, oh, get them all shipped together. But yeah, that is not a nice charge to be stung with. Yeah, so good. Such great advice, though. What is married life like now? You obviously mentioned welcoming your beautiful daughter recently, so in kind of a new season now. But yeah, do you feel like you got any post-wedding blues after the wedding?
I don't think I got too many post-wedding blues because I made sure that we had quite a lot of trips planned when we went back to the UK. So we actually had Dublin, Poland, Amsterdam, and New York within like 2 or 3 months. I tried to have a massive lineup so that I didn't have time to have wedding blues. But with that in mind, I think I definitely did have it a little bit. Like it was just such an amazing day. And having all of your friends and family together is just so special and it goes so quickly. So when it's over, it is a little bit sad that it's over, but also just amazing to reflect on it and great that everyone had such a fun time.
And enjoying married life. I guess it's been a few years now, but yeah, settled back into NZ, and yeah, so good.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. We love it, and we're grateful enough to have welcomed our beautiful baby girl Flo at the end of last year, which we've just been really enjoying. Yeah, we're besotted with her.
Oh, so sweet. Yeah, so beautiful hearing your story, and thank you so much for coming on today and sharing. Is there anything else we missed or you want to add before we wrap up?
I think we covered everything. Thank you so much for having me.
So good. Yay. Thank you for coming on. I think, yeah, really cool to share your story, and I think people get a lot out of this episode. So, yay.
Cool. Thank you so much.